Alright, Shalom. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash, the ones, the apostles and elders, the great millstone who rule well, and peace to you, sincere. I came out there pushing the truth across the four corners of the earth. Uh, and may the elect be sealed if it's not already sealed. But real quick, just wanted to jump in and dive in on the topic because you got basically Jake, the sons of Jacob, which we call them Jake for short, doing what they do, taking over, just like they did at the end of Rome. You know, you started to have all those Israelite Caesars, and you can look that up. But in this particular one, the country fans are calling for a Wrangler boycott after Lil Nas X sponsorship deal, which, you know, he has the song Old Town Road, and then Billy Ray Cyrus, he jumped on the song too. Excuse me. But as you can see, you know, these Edomites are pissed off, and I was talking to them, you know, on my job about it, and they're trying to say, you know, his song is not country, which it clearly is. You know, it clearly sounds like a country song with a kind of a new twist onto it, and that's what's got these Edomites mad because, you know, they want a category which we can't touch because I believe in the past. You know, these all industry niggas anyway, but you know, Nelly and Beyonce, I think they both did country music songs, and then, you know, they refused to acknowledge them, and then now they're kind of doing the same thing with this one. It says, what's the good part of that? Yeah, many fans have mentioned switching from Levi's after their stance on gun control. Now, the same fans are criticizing Wrangler after their partnership was revealed. To their credit, Wrangler has been mum on the controversy directly. Blah blah blah. So they're being what's the word for it? Politically correct. Let me see. I probably could pick up some and seeing, not that these people's opinions matter, but I just pulled up a couple of tweets. These imbeciles that we live amongst. Yeah, Wrangler has been a gene brand of outdoorsmen, farmers, and workers. I don't think this is a good campaign to run for this gene brand. If you have any sense, you'll stop production and burn what's left. So, you know, these Edomites are doing what they usually do. Jake is trying to expand. Jake is trying to be different, you know, because he's probably not country, but he just did the song just to, you know, and the song blew up. And get into the scriptures, man. Jeremiah 10:16. You know, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. And just like, you know, you have 12 tribes now, you know, when the earth was first created, you had the sons of the power, sons of God, you know, and the sons of power, they saw the daughters of men, you know, etc., etc., that they were fair, and then they went on in unto them. So you have people on this earth, which you can clearly see through their spirit. That's how we know who's an Israelite. You have people on this earth whose spirits are on a whole nother level. Okay, and that's part of the teachings of the Israelites. The so-called Jewish people in Israel, they'll never put that out there, even though the scriptures clearly tell you that. Jumping back though. Yep. Jeremiah 10:14. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. And the particular image that these Edomites are into worshiping is basically into the status of their whiteness. Going back to when they first coined the term white. That's what they're into. They're into that image, and then the white image of Cesare Borgia that helps to kind of secure their divinity. See, look, the Heavenly Father actually made one of us the Messiah. But jumping back into some history of country music, because this is part of this is part of the history here. Even though uh, here in America it's been hell for the Israelites, but this is the actual history of country music. And I'm gonna make it short, sweet, to the point. They said on Saturday night, DeFord Bailey stepped up to the microphone during a country music radio show in Nashville, put a harmonica to his lips, and began imitating the sound of rushing locomotives. His rendition of Pan America Blues had made him a hit on the then 2-year Born Dance show and earned him the title Harmonica Wizard. But this night, his performance was particularly significant. He opened the show, which followed an hour of symphonic music. So basically, he did that. It became a hit, but it wasn't until his death in 1982, at 82, that he received recognition for his 15 years as one of the show's biggest talent. Um, it said the relationship between blacks and country music, however, began centuries ago. In fact, blacks in the rural South helped create country music and remain avid fans today, according to Pamela Foster, author of new books My Country's The African Diaspora's Country Music Heritage. In the antebellum South, banjos and fiddles and harmonicas were the dominant instruments played in black culture, which that makes perfectly sense. Whatever, that makes perfect sense, excuse me. Wherever Jake is, we're going to use our resources, we're going to use it. And we still had that zeal, even going back to the ancient world, dealing with, of course, in the Bible, you have Asaph, and you have the different, Solomon had those different musicians who played in his court. And Jake is always in the music, and you listen to it, these Edomites are full of shit. Because what they did was, we were talented, we had music, we had singing, songwriters or whatever, but then they would never allow us to get on the mic. They would never allow us to, record a record, because they didn't want our name to be spread out, worldwide on the things that we were really capable of. And then at a certain point, they just kind of eased us in, but they still fucked up, the business and the money or whatever. And, now it's coming out, all the things that these devils did, and there's no answer for them. So you're trying to keep somebody out of a category because I think they were trying to give him an award, but the country music, they were trying to say that, look, the song's not country, there's no banjo or there's no guitar in it or whatever the fuck they were trying to say. So Billy Ray Cyrus jumped in it. Well, we fucking invented country music. We invented that shit. And unfortunately, history had distorted these facts. And that's what it means by Jacob is the former of all things. We Israelites have that creativity. When you look at the form of all things, the different things that Israel's done, there's very few things that these Edomites, because they've created things too, but there are very few things that these Edomites can attest to them, being creative and discovering and creating, because that's not in their spirit. Their spirit is warfare, destruction. Everything that they build, and when you look on YouTube or you look at Shark Tank, these Edomites coming with their ideas. Everything that they're creating, it has a lot of the stuff has a military function. So it's created for warfare. It's created for destruction. It's created to be used in the medical field for, once again, more destruction. That's the spirit of these Edomites. If you want to see the spirit of Esau, go to a Hot Topic store if they still even got them. That shit is probably all closed down. But back to this. It says historians acknowledge that country music is derived from a melting pot of cultures. Mountain or hillbilly music, in particular, combines the ballads and folk songs brought to the South by immigrants from the British Isles in the 18th and 19th century, and the rhythmic influences of African immigrants. The banjo, which mimics the banjar played in Africa, so you had the banjar, was invented by Southern blacks in the late 1690s. So we actually invented the banjo. These motherfuckers, look at that. It's the same thing. Here's the African banjar. Jake brought it over, and they were still playing it. But these Edomites, they call it the banjo. And it's a what you would consider an African drum. Man, so these devils, man, these devils got a lot to play for, a lot to pay for misappro. That's the new term, misappropriation. Well, shit, they misappropriated a lot, and there's a lot of things we don't even know about yet. Jacob is the former of all things, and that's what the scriptures also say. What these Edomites will oppress a man and his heritage. All of our people who came up with it, once again, came up with songs, came up with these different inventions. They were never paid for it. These Edomites, they steal your recipe. They take, just like now, they'll steal, your recipe. They'll steal whatever you're doing. They'll take it, put that corporate money behind it, and boom. Now they'll take your idea and they'll make millions off of it. And they were only gonna try to pay you, a couple thousand. That's the nature of these devils. They oppress a man and his heritage. It says slaves also played the fiddle, which was introduced to them by the white masters. The fiddle was the primary instrument, which the fiddle, that goes back to the violin, and the violin that goes back to the ancient world too. It goes back to a lot of those Moors and man, once in the kingdom we're gonna know all of this stuff. Where all this stuff comes from. It probably all goes back to Israel anyway. But it said if you had a bunch of guys getting rowdy in the tavern, they'd have been dancing to a fiddle played by a black person. If there was a fancy dance on the plantation, the musicians were likely with slaves. Yep, just like in what's this? I forgot. Damn, Roots. You had the character Fiddler because he was so good on the strings. No formal music education. He didn't. A lot of these people, they didn't know how to read music, read sheet music. You know, read the. Is it a treble clef? Is it a bass clef? They didn't know how to read none of that stuff. But they still could make music and shit. Even going up to the 80s. So blacks have contributed to the development of a lot of American popular music. It didn't start with Pat Boone copying Little Richard's song in the 50s. It's been going on much longer than that. Yeah, because they copied a lot of music. Uh, okay, and that's pretty much it on that. That's pretty much it on that. Yeah, because they want to keep this pure. This is one of the things that they don't want us touching. But they got all these country music. These Israelites who've done country music right here. Honey Ledbetter, Emma Ardoin, Chuck Berry, Otis Blackwell, Ray Charles, yep, Aaron Neville, Ruby Falls, all these Israelites, Lionel Richie, Willie Weeks, Charles Tinley. A lot of these are before my time, but you can still look a lot of them up on YouTube. Okay, and it's not cookie cutter either. Jake put their spirit into it. They put their own spirit into it. And this is this is speaking on the same thing. And more stuff they say. It says other relatives of what would eventually become the banjo existed in many different areas of West Africa. There is the Ngoni, which had anywhere from 3 to 9 strings, the Kano, which had 2 strings, and the Juri Kaleni, which just had 1 string. One of the most elaborate of these variations is the Kora, which had 21 strings and leather straps tied to the pole neck to hold the strings in place. These predecessors are still played today in their native lands. And that's pretty much it on that. And these Edomites have oppressed us and our heritage. They steal. Then they get mad when we beat them at their own game. So they mad because he got a leg up. And you haven't heard any you haven't heard any good country music in a while. The song is not too bad. But call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbat Shem Kakadash. May Babylon continue to fall. May it continue to go down, and it will. And may prophecies continue to happen. And we're just waiting on Esau to send his troops into Iran. We're waiting on them to make the wrong move. And Lord willing, that happens soon. Lord willing is edifying for you. Shalom.